Hello, I'm naturopath Dr. Mindy Curry, and I'm lying down in this field with a bunch of horsetails because I want to show you how to make medicine out of Equisetum arvense. This is an ancient herb that was once covered the whole world in giant tree form. Is now pretty much down to these little guys. This is a common yet ancient herb that can be found anywhere there is water, from Alaska all the way down to Baja California. These horsetails growing around my head are actually growing in the wetland behind my house. Now this area is actually being restored by the environmental cleanup group Solve, so I won't be plucking these ones today. But fortunately, lots of their friends are growing up in my vegetable garden, and those are what I'm going to make medicine out of in this video. Now I'm showing you these ones in specific because these are just about the perfect size for harvesting. You can see that they are the young, fast-growing, fairly soft stalks that have come up early spring. And this early springtime is great because the silica content in the plant is still fairly soluble. It's still dissolved in the cell fluid itself. And that means that it's a little less irritating to the kidneys, and also that when it's dried, when the herb is dried and processed, that dust isn't going to be going up into your lungs, and over repeated exposure to horsetail dust can be definitely a problem. Here we are in my spring garden, and as you can see, I've got quite the selection of horsetails trying to grow up here. You can see these beautiful baby horsetail shoots, which I don't mind elsewhere in nature, but I don't really want in my 4-way dirt. It's compost, soil, cow manure, and sand. And there's my babies. Hi, Dr. Mindy Curry here, and you can see I've got a big pile of beautiful horsetails. These are young shoots in the spring, and I have harvested them this young mainly because they're growing in my garden and I wanted them out of there so I could plant my vegetables. But some people say this is the perfect time to harvest them when the silica content, the silica molecules are smaller. Later on, some people suggest it may irritate the kidneys. Other authors say it really doesn't, and especially when taken in tea form is not a problem, and in midsummer and you get a better harvest, a bigger harvest, and you're less disturbing to the plants. This particular case, I wanted to disturb the plants because they are right where all my vegetables are going to grow, and so I've picked a whole bunch of beautiful ones, and I'm going to harvest them and process them into teas, a honey, and a tincture. So we're just going to start by taking a big sharp knife and chopping these up into little bits. Now, horsetail has got a lot of silica content, so this is actually fairly labor intensive. It's not an easy slice. But I want to get fairly small bits because I want to make as much surface area exposed to my honey or alcohol solution, or also I want it to be able to dry quickly. Now I want these pieces to be fairly small and uniform because I want them to dry quickly for those that I'm going to dry. For the ones that are going into honey or tincture form, I want as much cell surface exposed to the honey or the alcohol medium so that we can really get that silica content from the plant into the solution that will be easier and more palatable to eat than this very crunchy, very intense vegetable. It's going to take me a while to get through this over here, this big pile. So perhaps I'll just turn you off for a moment and come back in a few moments. And I'm still chopping. This is going to take a while. So some of these I'm going to set aside over on the drying rack. Those will be made into teas. And once they get a little drier, I'll probably also break them up even more. You can put this in low heat on a commercial dryer, or you can put it in a shade. Maybe with a fan to keep the air moving around it in a warm place. Now these larger chunks, these fresh shoots, they're very, very moist and will be harder to dry. So I'm going to take these and I'm going to make these into a honey, since that moisture and thick, soft cells will be excellent for breaking down into the honey and releasing all of their silicon. The high silica content in the honey can be great for coughs and for teething children. It's a good way to get the silica in there for people who like honey. For drying horsetails, I want to take the more mature of these, take the tops, but also the skinny little arm leaves. These will dry better than the big tubular moist centers, which I'm going to use in the tea, in the honey, possibly in the tincture as well. I'm going to go for just an air drying of these ones, since they're fairly dry if I don't take those centers. I'm going to dry them in a shade, a slightly warm place. As you can see, this is going to take a little while, so be prepared if you're harvesting horsetails this young. They're still very moist, and it's just going to take a little time if you're planning on drying much. Okay, and that's probably about enough for my purposes today. I'm going to put these over. I'm going to chop these up one more time, and then I'm going to put these over on the drying rack. Okay, I now have my horsetails chopped up for use in tincture and to boil down into a nice honey. I also have my drying rack here, just ready to go. We'll move this into the kitchen, get started on some of the others. We are back at my kitchen with the processed horsetails, and I'm going to make a few things with it. For one thing, I've got a slow cooker here, and I've filled it with honey. Got that warmed up. I'm just going to add the horsetails, make a wonderful horsetail honey. I want to do that about quarter horsetails to honey. Mix it in good. And then I'm going to let that on the low setting just kind of steep away and infuse all that delicious mineral content into the honey over a couple days. I strain that off, get the final product. Over here, I've got some Bragg's organic apple cider. What I'm going to do is make a horsetail cider. I'm going to add the horsetails into the jar here. Get it pretty close to the top, but not all the way. Leave a little bit of room at the top. And then add in the vinegar. The other thing I'm going to make today is a tincture using some vodka. For this one, I'm only using an 80 proof vodka. Mainly, it's all about extracting the amazing minerals from this ancient plant. Once again, I want to fill this jar up almost to the top, but leaving a little room up there. And then add the vodka. That'll let sit at least a couple months. The vinegar a couple weeks. The honey will be ready to go after it gets done with its time in the crock pot. It's been overnight, and this is what our horsetail honey is looking like so far. You can see the honey is really taking in a lot of the horsetail goodness. And we'll just let that sit there for another day or two. Fairly low crock pot temperature. Let all the minerals come right out into the honey, and then we can use that honey as we would other honey uses or for other purposes. For most people, horsetail is going to be best used as a tea. This will pull the silica content out, make it useful for increasing the strength of your nails or hair or connective tissues in general. It's good for treating prostate problems and urinary infections. An apple cider vinegar extract of horsetails is really great as a hair rinse. Also another way to get the silica content in for people that are trying to improve their connective tissue strength. The tincture of horsetail can be a useful addition to other formulas and can also be an excellent tonic for hair, skin, nails, and general connective tissue problems. The horsetail honey can be a real delicious, sweet way to get that silica content in for strengthening all sorts of things. Also, it's a good way to get silica into children that are suffering from growing pains. The medicines I make are not currently sold in stores or by any vendors. I make small batches seasonally that I use for myself and for my patients. You've seen how easy and cheap it is to make your own herbal medicine from horsetails, but do you know if you should actually use those horsetails medicinally yourself? What is a good dose for your specific problem? How long should you take this, and how fast should it work? Would combining horsetail with other herbs increase its effectiveness? Do you actually know what's wrong, what your condition is, or are you just kind of guessing about your diagnosis from stuff you've read on the internet? These are all important questions to ask when deciding to make your own medicine. For this reason, I really urge you to go and see a naturopathic physician like myself to discuss your health condition and which locally harvested herbs are medically appropriate for you. I'd also urge you to go and take a look at my website, passionforhealingnaturopathic.com, and then call me for an appointment. I offer house calls in the greater Portland area, and I also have an office in the Jennings Lodge area of Milwaukee. You can also email me for upcoming events at info@passionforhealingnaturopathic.com. Also, email me for any questions you may have about this video and really about anything. And I'll talk to you soon.